Hello everyone, this is Kitty Kazoo, and welcome to my 50th video. Thank you for joining. This is the 10 Style Challenge Part 2 to celebrate this milestone. Today I am drawing Maxine, one of the few OCs that I have made. Let's get on with the video. So the first style is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I wanted to draw her like not only in the Avatar style, but also as though she was a part of that particular world. So I ended up making her an earthbender because she has a lot of earthy tones to her clothing preferences. She really likes botany and whatnot, so it just seemed really fitting to make her an earthbender. But with the result, it kind of made me imagine a character that would be in The Legend of Korra, who would be living in Republic City, or whatever the city was called, who was maybe really fascinated by earthbender culture, but didn't really know a whole lot about it, and even though she researched, couldn't really find what earthbending clothes really looked like, so she just sort of made an outfit and isn't super accurate, but she still really is happy and just wears it wherever she goes. I don't know why that's what comes to mind, but that's just what I thought of when I was drawing her. I often like to think about what kind of bender I would be if I was in that world. You know, like every time I'm watching the show, that's always what comes to mind, isn't it? I like to imagine that I'd be a waterbender because that's the coolest one. But I don't know. My favorite book is Book Fire. Yeah. I gave her like a Zuko style ponytail, and her face honestly just sort of ended up looking like Mang from that fortune teller episode, if you recall that one, and here is what it looks like. And now on to the second style, which is Studio Ghibli. This is a style that I was most especially looking forward to and dreading. I really didn't think that I was going to be able to pull it off, and I pulled up a lot of references and constantly went back and redrew things and kept looking at more things, and there are a lot of pauses in the video just because I was trying to find a reference to show me how to do certain things, because I wanted to make it look right. I really like Ghibli, and we own most of the movies. My personal favorite is Princess Mononoke and Whisper of the Heart, but I really like all of them. I say those are my favorites, but they're just like slightly above the others, because I also really like, Spirited Away, The Cat Returns, Howl's Moving Castle, especially. I also really like the book that Howl's Moving Castle is based off of, but that's neither here nor there. But this one was pretty darn difficult, but in the end, I think that I got it pretty well. Her face shape is a little bit off, and her neck is a bit long, but even so, I'm, pretty happy with how it turned out. And here is what it looks like in the end. I think it is pretty good. Yeah, it's okay. It's better than the first time that I tried doing a Studio Ghibli drawing. That's for sure. The third style is Phineas and Ferb. I don't know about you, but I grew up watching this on, summer mornings when nobody else was awake, and I would watch it alongside iCarly, just depending on what was on. While I was looking into these characters and how I should go about drawing Maxine, I realized that all of the characters were based around a simple shape. Like Isabel, the person that I based Maxine off of. Hers is an oval. Phineas is pretty notorious. Not notorious, that has a negative stigma. Pretty famous for having a triangle head. Ferb is a rectangle. I don't really know what Candace would be. I guess she's just a circle on a stick. But I considered making my own, like picking a shape that hadn't been done yet for Maxine. But I couldn't really think of what I would do, and I felt like if I did something all on my own, it wouldn't really look like the style. So I wanted to do something that would be a little bit more recognizable, if that makes sense. So I went with just copying Isabel, because Isabel was my favorite character in the show back when I watched it. And it was like, all that mattered was whether or not she got hooked up with Phineas. But anyway, the next one is Dr. Seuss. We always had a lot of these books around, and I enjoyed reading many of them. And I thought about making her into one of the things, like Thing 1 and Thing 2, and she would be Thing 3. But I decided that since she is a human being, I wanted to make her into a human, since there are human characters within the story. Uh, far and few between. I don't really remember. I just remember that my favorite one was always "I'm not getting out of bed today" because it resonated with me personally. I think that her hair in the end doesn't quite look right because I wasn't really sure how to mimic it, since everyone always has really light colored hair in the drawings, or if they have dark hair then it's very minimal, if that really makes sense. But if you look up drawings, you can kind of see for yourself. But I'm pretty sure I nailed the rest of it. Go for that sort of long and crumpled looking skirt and the sort of fuzzy looking hands. And there we go, Dr. Seuss. And number 5 is the chibi style. Now, I have a personal chibi style that you may have seen in those 2 Hamilton animations that I did. Or if not, you might have seen it on the channel trailer that I made. But my style has a lot of certain angles and decisions that I made about it that don't really follow the traditional Japanese chibi style. So even though I call it chibi, it's not really that, as much as just a more cartoony way to draw people. But the Japanese style is a lot more cutesy and shiny than what I like doing, and even though it was pretty different from what I usually do, it was pretty simple to figure out. Although I'm sure it would have been a lot easier digitally, because all those little bubbles of white on her hair I had to trace out before I started coloring, and follow them around to make sure that they were the white bubbles. And I know that there are markers you can get that are white and will go over the marker to make white shines, but I don't have any of those. So I just had to kind of trace out and hope for the best. And then I had to go and get a marker to give her those pink, not a marker, a colored pencil to give her those pink cheeks, which I actually quite like, and I might incorporate a little bit more so that my characters look a little bit more lively, because they rarely have much pink to their skin. Next up is Yu-Gi-Oh! This one took forever. I consider the original Yu-Gi-Oh! To be my first anime. I binge watched it when I was, I don't know, 11, 10 or 11, right in there, and I absolutely loved it. I had my own deck of cards, and I would play with my siblings all the time. I only ever beat my older sibling once in comparison to the dozens of times that he defeated me, but even so, I would always bring it up. Like, he'd be like, "Oh, it looks like I won another round," and I'd be like, "Yeah, well, I beat you that one time, so." It's pretty funny thinking about it now. But yet again, to put Maxine into this world, I put her into the same sort of, oh, what am I trying to say? Costume, or not costume, uniform. There's the word I'm looking for. Put her into a green uniform with brown trim, the color of her skirt. And it seemed like she would be in a rival dueling school or something, and an opponent that Yugi might have met at one of the various competitions. And because Maxine loves cats, I incorporated that however I could. For example, I had her put sleeves on her cards so that the black dot is instead a cat head. And on her glove, the thing on her wrist is little cat things instead of the stars. Now, one thing that I noticed in drawing this was that there really are no rules when it comes to drawing hair. There are no limits at all. If you can think of it, you can do it. Do whatever you want. So I combined multiple elements to make Maxine. It was very difficult and time-consuming to draw. I mean, not as long as, one of my regular drawings, but it was the longest of the 10 styles. And here is what she looks like in the end. Little side note here. I actually kind of prefer Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 to the regular series, but that's because the regular series is really kind of childish. But anyway, we gotta move on. Next up is Domix. Domix is the first YouTube animator that I ever watched. I've seen almost all of his videos numerous times, and I designed him or not him, her, to look a little bit more like an older Domix style. But that was on accident. But he used to do a lot smaller heads. Not smaller heads. He used to do bigger heads, and now he does smaller heads to kind of make a more realistic proportion. But I just went with this because that was what came to mind when I thought of Domix. and I just sort of went with it. I probably could have done a bit more research, pulled up more recent videos to truly follow his style, but I still feel like it looks like a character that could be in a Domix video. So I'm satisfied with that. Here's what she looks like in the end. Next is Pokemon. I really like the original seasons, even though I haven't really seen them in a long time. So, my judgment is questionable on that. But Misty and Brock are the best. Undoubtedly, they're the best. I have heard that the most recent Pokemon series has been pretty good with Sun and Moon, but I dropped out back at Black and White because I just got so sick of, well, all of it. Just everything. But I had a lot of fun designing this because there's no character that has her specific hairstyle, and if there was, I wouldn't really want to just copy it straight up. So instead, I did a combination with May's weird hair sticks to get those strands of hair on her side, and Jessie's magical hair curve kind of going around back of her, but, not as long. And then the front of her shirt, while it normally has a cat, I instead made it into a Skitty, because that's the first cat Pokemon that came to mind when I thought, well, I should do a cat Pokemon, that'd be cool. Skitty is my favorite Pokemon, actually, because when I was younger, I had this tiny little Skitty statue, and it was the only Pokemon thing I owned when I wasn't really into Pokemon yet, but I thought it was adorable, and I still think it's adorable, and I still have it. I really like Skitty, and nobody ever seems to understand why. But anyway, I kind of messed up the balance of her hair when I shaded it, because I accidentally made her left one, her left, too short, because I wasn't really looking at the lines I made when I was adding the black to make the shading in the background. But here you go. That's Pokemon for ya. Next up we have Jaden Animations, who is one of my favorite YouTube animators. I love her videos. They're so adorable. And I love her pet dog, Ari. So cute. Such a unique color, too, for a dog. But I made Maxine's hair curlier because all of Jaden's characters have a bit of curl and bounce to their hair. And while Maxine does have straight hair, I wanted her to match better with the style. And like I've been saying, I wanted to make her really look like she was a part of that world. Because of that, I had to kind of forgo, my idea of having her have straight hair. But I found the style just really relaxing to draw in, and a lot of things that were just kind of similar to things I like doing in my chibi style. And I really like the eyes, for example. In my Hamilton animations, I do eyes really similar to that, and I did that before I ever watched Jaden Animations. I only recently got into it like a month ago. I don't know. But this one was pretty fun to do, and pretty easy as well. I can see why she goes for animating it like this. But she always has so many frames in her videos, and they're always so long. She must spend so long on all of these, and they're always really good. And here's Jaden, or well, no, it's Maxine, pretending to be Jaden. And it was really important that I gave her shirt color, because if I hadn't, she would have just ended up looking like Jaden. Because she doesn't really look too different with the same color of dark hair. Now moving on. The last style that we are doing here is Code Lyoko, which is a show that one of my siblings watched. And even though I liked it whenever I watched it, I didn't ever really watch it much personally, unless it just happened to be on or my brother was watching it. I don't know any of the characters' names or the plot or anything about it at all, but the style stood out to me because it's really, really weird. And that is the only reason why I included it, is because I wanted to try doing this ridiculous forehead. It's so funny looking, and I love the eyes and just the way that the face is done with thick eyebrows. I personally like drawing thick eyebrows. So there you go. Those are the 10 styles that I chose. And if you haven't yet, you should go check out my 10 Style Challenge Part 1, because that has some pretty fun things that I was able to do. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. This was so